Hi everyone, it's Lindsay and I'm back today with a little bit of die cut art. I'm going to be turning some die cut circles into ice cream. Now this is for the Craft and Desert Divas monthly challenge. Here's a look at the mood board for this month, and I am drawing my inspiration from that very top left picture of that ice cream cone with all the different circles. This is why I love challenges like this. They give me ideas that I might not have ever had. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the Crazy Stitched Frames die set. This is the largest rectangle in that set, and I'm going to cut a piece of white cardstock. Now I'm going to go through all the different colors of the rainbow. I'm using more of kind of like I guess I would call it like sorbet colors almost for my rainbow here. So I've got a coral, a lighter orange, and then I'm going for very light but also vibrant colors. So I'm going through the colors of the rainbow with my circle die, and this is from the Stitched in Circles die set. Now I'm going to pull out this very tiny stitch circle. This is from the brand new Inside Rectangles, Scalloped Inside Rectangles die set. And then I've also got this great little leaf from the Scene Builders die set, and I'm going to cut that from green cardstock. Now for my ice cream cone, I am going to make my own here. So I've got a piece of craft cardstock. I'm going to cut it at 1 3/4 inches width, and then for the length I'm going to go at 2 1/2 inches, and then I'll just cut that right at that point. Now I went ahead and marked my middle, and then from the bottom middle up to the top corners I'm going to cut at a diagonal here, which is very easy to do. I just need to line up my wire guide and my trimmer. If you have a guillotine trimmer, that would be very easy to do as well. So you could leave this as is. You've got a great triangle, but I am going to take and add a few little score lines to create kind of a waffle cone look. Now if you had an embossing folder that's like that wire mesh embossing folder, and I do have one of those, you could use that and it creates a really cool look. I've done that before, but I wanted to show you how to get that look without having to have that certain embossing folder. So all you need is a score tool. You could use your bone folder. I'm using one of the score tools I have on hand, and I'm just putting lines kind of at an angle from one corner down to the bottom, and then I go across and make kind of a crosshatch pattern here all the way across my cone. Now I am doing these all one way, and then I'm actually going to use the reverse side that has the embossed lines kind of at a raised portion here. That's going to be my top portion. To add a little bit of depth, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some distressing blending on all of these pieces. So I started out with Vintage Photo on that cone that I created. Then on my greens, I'm going to be using some crushed olive. Then I'm moving on to some abandoned coral on my coral piece here, and I'm just going around the edges very quickly. I'm using some, I believe it's mustard seed on my yellows here. So just a tone darker than whatever cardstock you used really gives a nice depth effect to any die cuts. I'm using some spice marmalade on my oranges, some peacock feathers on my turquoises, and then finally I'm using some Dusty Concord it is for my purples. Now I went a little heavy-handed on this, but that's okay. I kind of like the look. It's going to be my top scoop of ice cream, so that's alright. I came back in with a little more Vintage Photo around those edges and to darken up a few of those score lines just to give it some more depth. Then I also did the same distressing blending technique on my leaves and also on my little cherry, that little circle that I die cut, and I used fired brick on that for a little more depth on him. Now to add a background for my little ice cream cone, I'm bringing in some green distressing. I don't know, is this a green or a blue? It's cracked pistachio. I think a green when I think of pistachios, but I'm going to go ahead and put a nice little square of this, and all I've done to do that is mask off all 4 sides of my die cut that I created with that Crazy Stitch frame, and I am using painter's tape to do that. Line it up with the edge, then I've got a completely centered rectangle that I can create this square in, or this rectangle in, and distressing that in there. Now once I had that done, I'll go ahead and peel up all pieces. And to pull up painter's tape, I just like to pull it right back on itself and go in the order or the opposite order of what I put it down, so it just comes up very easily. I also should mention that before I stick it down, I stick my painter's tape a few times to like my shirt or my pants, something cloth, to get a little bit of that lint so it's not as sticky. Now, Distress ink is of course reactive with water, so I put a few little splatters down with my paintbrush and clear water. I'll let that soak for just a minute, and then I'll go ahead and blot that up with my towel there, and I've got a great splattered background ready for the ice cream cone. Now, I mapped this out of how I wanted this to go before I started sticking anything down, and then I'm going to line this up with that rectangle that I created. I want a little bit showing on the bottom 2 corners and on the top 2 corners as well. So I'm just using some paper tape to put everything together very quickly so I get it positioned. Then I'll go back in just a moment with some liquid glue and really stick everything down nice and solid and make sure I don't have any crazy flyaways. So I'm starting off with my yellow and my green right down at the very bottom. Then on top of those, I'm going to stick my blue and my orange circles. And now I'm going to come in with my centers, and I'm going to go ahead and put down my coral center first, right in between the bottom 2 circles, and then on the top 2 circles, my very top ice cream scoop, I'm going to put my purple down. Now you can see I had that all lined up, so I had it centered perfectly on that rectangle I created. Very quick and easy. Now I'm going to come in with that liquid glue and make sure everything sticks together well. So I'm squirting that in wherever I can lift up a circle. I need to go ahead and put a little bit of liquid glue and glue everything right down and make sure everything's nice and secure. And I am using glossy accents for this. You could use any liquid glue that is your favorite though. I just like this because it's very strong glue. Now once that was done, it was time to add on my ice cream cone to my rectangle. So I pieced together a few pieces of fun foam and double-sided adhesive, and then I'll just peel up the backing paper on that double-sided adhesive and place that right down into the center of that rectangle. I wasn't sure if I wanted this at an angle at the last minute, but I decided to go straight up and down like I had planned and just stuck that right down in the center. Now you can see it's not centered from the bottom and the top, but that's okay because I'm going to add this little cherry that I've created from a circle die cut and 2 leaves. I put a little piece of fun foam and double-sided adhesive on the back of that as well, and then I'll just pop that right on top of that purple die cut, and now it's centered on both the left and right side and the top and bottom as well with that little addition. So have you ever had a card idea in your head but you completely leave out where you're going to leave your sentiment or where you're going to place your sentiment? I do that quite often. So this is something I like to do whenever I have moments like that. I just pull out the sentiment set that I want to use and I stamp out the sentiment that I think is going to work on the top paper or the backing paper, which is just clear acetate. I just stamp that right on there, and then I can go ahead and place that over wherever I think it's going to work. I am so glad I did this on this card because I planned on using that Wish Big sentiment. I put it down and I didn't really think it went with the look I was going for with this card. So this is the Simply Said stamp set from Craft and Desert Divas, and it is one of my all-time favorite sentiment sets because of the size of the sentiments, and you've got every sentiment you could need for a card in this. So I put that Wish Big back and I pulled out this other happy birthday little sentiment here. That ended up working. I stamped it in the bottom right hand corner, and I did put that on the acetate as well just to check and make sure. Now I had already put 2 layers of dimension on this card between the ice cream and then the cherry on top. So I decided just to attach this straight onto an A2 side folding card base. It's a white card base that I made myself. Just centered that up and put it straight down on top of that with some double-sided adhesive. Now to add a little bit of shimmer, I am using the Shimmer sequins from Craft and Desert Divas, and I just put 3 of these down. I'm putting 2 in the bottom right hand corner right above the sentiment, kind of in a triangle fashion where the sentiment and the ice cream cone meat. And then in the top left hand corner, I'll put that final one. And I am using glossy accents and my quick sticks tool just to secure these down. And my quick sticks tool helps so I don't get glue absolutely everywhere. Finally, I am going to coat all of those little ice cream scoops with a layer of Winkostella clear glitter brush pen. Now, I just did a video on where I showed you how to refill this with water. This I am using after I have refilled it. You can see it works just as well. And then that's all going to dry down, you'll see, once everything is said and done. But it has just as sparkly, and it dries down perfectly over your cardstock. Doesn't warp it at all. Now, there's a final look at that card. I'm going to leave you guys with a few pictures as well. On the left side of your screen, you'll see a few different links you can click on. The top will take you to a video you might enjoy watching next. The bottom left will take you to my blog, where you'll find the supply list and more information on the Craft and Desert Divas Challenge. And on the bottom right, that will subscribe you to my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and happy crafting!